Hey guys, so before we start the video, I wanted to place a language warning at the beginning. Yeah, I know it seems kind of silly, but this is going to be going up on other social media where I have family members, and honestly, they're actually not used to me swearing. You know, looking at you, Facebook. So let's just get into it. Now, some of you may know me as Ash, Dings, Silver, or a whole slew of other nicknames that I've gone by over the years. Well, call me what you like, but don't call me ma'am. We'll get to that. To the topic of the video, some of you might not know what the significance of today is. Actually, a lot of you might not, but that's kind of me assuming. October 11th, right? Unless it's not October 11th when you're watching this, then the date's kind of irrelevant, but just keep October 11th in mind. Anyway, in the LGBT community, October 11th is seen as National Coming Out Day. Whether you're coming out as gay, lesbian, bi, trans, genderqueer, or honestly even an ally, this is the day that a lot of people use to put themselves out there. Now obviously there is no set coming out day. The only set coming out day is the one where you feel comfortable. But still, a lot of people use October 11th as the opportunity to do something they might have been too scared to do. It's a date. It's something to look forward to. And it's something they can mark on their calendar and say, I'm going to do this. So you might ask, hey Ash, what's with the video? Well, depending upon what stage in this personal journey of mine that you've been in, you've been told different stories. It's either, oh, you're gay, or, oh, you're FTM. Fact of the matter is, these are only partial truths. So today, I am coming out as non-binary, panromantic, and asexual. Now, I'm gonna go off the assumption that many watching this have no idea what the hell I just said. For those of you that do, cool. Now you know how I identify, and this can go smoothly from this point. But for those of you who don't, I'll go on to explain. Our first major term is non-binary. Hold on to your hats, cause there's a lot of words coming your way. This is an umbrella term, one comfortably used by those who don't find themselves fitting the binary. The binary being male and female. Now, because it's an umbrella term, there's a few different ways to explain it, and people identify with it differently on a personal basis. For myself, it means that I don't feel either male or female. I'm not a girl, and I'm not a boy. I don't fluctuate like a gender-fluid person does, and I don't lean more towards one gender like a demi-gender person does. Although, one could argue that I'm trans-masculine or a demi-boy, this is not the case. Along with non-binary, there is also genderqueer. It's another umbrella term, and it's practically the same in most regards. I go by either of those terms, and I even go by androgynous. To me, they all mean the same when applied to myself. Simply meaning, I'm not a boy or a girl. I'm a person. The nicknames I listed before are the names I've chosen to go by with several people, and the pronouns I use are they, them, and their. And yes, those can be singular for all those who don't think they are. It's actually grammatically correct and in the dictionary. Now, while I prefer they, I'm not going to crucify you if you forget, or if it just doesn't sit right on your tongue. Yes, it sounds right and perfect when applied to me, but I'll also accept he, him, and his. He doesn't quite feel right, but it feels worlds better than she does, which I will not accept or answer to at all. So, yeah. They, them, if you want to keep it simple. Now, to explain my personal feelings on being non-binary, I find myself more comfortable in guy-like clothes or androgynous attire. I can't stand being in dresses, skirts, or makeup, or anything of the sort. And while clothing can't be gendered as much as everyone would like to tell you, the fact of the matter is a lot of people see those things as generally feminine. I do not like those things, and to be quite frank, I never have. Ever. Just ask anyone who grew up with me. I feel much better in a loose shirt, button-up, or anything typically seen as lazy guy wear. So while demi-boy might sound like me after hearing that, especially since I shun quite a lot of feminine things, I still feel more comfortable as neither demi-boy or trans-masculine. AKA, I'll comfortably sit in my non-binary label. So, does that make you trans? The answer is yes and no. My answer though, yes. In the past, there was quite a large debate in the community on whether or not non-binary fit into the trans mold. It's a lot of political stuff, but the fact of the matter is, who cares? Now, I might get flack for that, and I honestly don't care. This is my identity, and I'll be damned if someone other than myself tries to tell me who I am. For me personally, non-binary feels like it fits the trans label. Being trans means you don't identify with the gender you were assigned at birth. If you're non-binary, you don't identify with it. Sounds the same to me, man. And that's honestly my argument on the matter. What about transitioning? Quite excitingly, non-binaries can transition just as much as a trans man or a trans woman can. With the help of a gender counselor, a lot of people can actually get approved and go to surgeons for things like breast removal to help gender dysphoria. Of course, there's others who don't experience gender dysphoria on the scale of wanting things removed. Like with breasts, binding helps, or loose clothing, or some people are fine with doing nothing at all. I personally bind, but that's me. That's my take on my identity. One thing to keep in mind is, no matter what anyone tells you, there is no such thing as non-binary enough. If you don't feel comfortable as a guy, but appear to be the shining image of masculinity as well as enjoying said masculine things, you can be non-binary. If you don't feel comfortable as a girl but love feminine things and dressing like such, you can still be non-binary. You are never not enough to be yourself. So our next definition is panromantic. Now, pan is a term for someone who likes boys, girls, or anyone in between. I don't care what you identify as, there's a chance I could like you. I've had crushes on both binary genders, and I even fell in love with a girl once. So honestly, it doesn't matter to me. The romantic part is that's who I choose to show my affection to. I can cuddle, probably kiss, cute dates, things like that. All the cutie shit you see or read about. So yeah, I can be down for some major cuddles with any gender. Now, asexual is where things start to differ. Being on the A spectrum has a few definitions and branches like non-binary does. The general gist, however, is aces don't have sexual desire or a drive. Again, there's branches that veer off, but mine is pretty much the bare bones. To get into the TMI range, depending upon what kind of person you are, I don't have a sex drive. For years, I've never had one. I don't desire to be with anyone in that fashion. Honestly, just give me a blanket and popcorn. Let's have some cuddles and movie night, fam. But if I had to identify with anything that wasn't straight up ace but in the spectrum, it would probably be demi. Meaning there's no sexual attraction until there's been a strong emotional bond formed before then. That may sound normal to some, but honestly in the hookup culture, no, not really. Even then, I've got no real desire. Oh, you say, you'll know when you find the right person. Thank you, Sharon, but I know my identity better than you. One of the worst things you can do is joke about someone's identity or pretend you know it better than they do. Yes, jokes are welcome in certain situations, but when you get to the point where you try to tell someone who they are, it's crossing a line. Whether you realize you're crossing that line or not, that's honestly a moment you just need to back up and think about what your words sound like to someone else. Because the moment you start that type of talk, chances are that person you're speaking to immediately feels invalidated. Now, there have been others who've dealt with this longer than myself, but I've personally been on this identity struggle for nearly 3 years. While the signs have been there growing up, sometimes the people going through them are the last to know about it. Both of my gender identity and my sexuality hit me at once, and it was a struggle for months to figure out exactly where I belonged in the wide slew of titles and definitions and labels. Truth is, I didn't have to have a label. No one does. But finding a tag under which I fit helped me feel like I was one step closer to figuring out who I was. There were a few close friends and family members that I opened up to. 2 very specific ones, actually, that helped me pull through my spells of anxiety and hopelessness when it came to understanding who I was. Without them, I never would have been able to come this far and truly accept how real this feels. I questioned, I searched, I cried so many times, but in the end, I was able to figure out what I was looking for. Myself. And in finding myself, I found a support group which backed me to the end. I love each and every one of them, and couldn't be more grateful for the encouragement and positivity they've given me. To each and every one of you, thank you. To the rest of the world, this is me coming out. I am a 23-year-old non-binary individual, and I am here to stay.